You bet. Are you fine?
Or yes.
You got about 10 seconds. Changes to
This one says I have 20 seconds.
Now,
Shrink it up so it's full page.
Here, try my mouse, see if it works.
Well, that's.
Are you sharing screen? I have it open right now. Let's put sharing screen on Zoom. Are we? Oh.
I mean, I can go ahead and-
Are we ready? Are we
That's why.
are we ready?
All right, yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for the City of Monterey, Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. Can we have a roll call for the gang
Sure. Chair Dawson,
here?
Vice Chair Bluth,
here,
Commissioner Brassfield,
I am present.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman.
Here.
And Commissioner Silva,
Here.
and Commissioner Latassa has let us know he will not be attending. I can go ahead and announce the staff members present. We have our planning manager, Levi Hill, Senior Associate Planner, Chris Schmidt, and myself, Recording Secretary, Erica Barrera. And if you'd like, I can go ahead and let the public know how they can participate via Zoom.
Please do.
Information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at isearchmonterey.org. Remote commenters will be muted until it's their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you are connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government.
That's it. Okay, so guess number one, approval of minutes. Does everyone get to read the minutes? Any comments on the minutes?
No comment.
About a motion to approve minutes?
Let's check real fast to make sure we don't have any members of the public online or present that want to speak on the consent agenda.
Can do. Is anyone in the audience, either online or in the room, have a comment on the minutes from last time? No.
Looks like no one in the audience wants to provide comment, and there are no attendees online with their hands raised.
Okay,
Move to accept the minutes February the 13th as presented.
second. Second here. Here. Mike,
Great.
okay. General comments.
I can do a roll call vote for those minutes.
We have to vote on that?
Yeah, we do a vote.
We have Chair Dawson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Yes.
Commissioner Brassfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman, and Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Great, the minutes are approved.
General public comments. Does anyone have a comment that does not come with the rest of the meeting? Just for a general. No. Anyone in the audience have a general comment?
I see no hands raised online.
No hands? Okay, so let's go with item number 3. Consider 1203 Harrison Street, variance application VA 240015, requesting a reduced side yard setback and reduced rear yard setback for a raised patio. Applicant Carl Maxey, owner William Ray. Can we have a staff report on this, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a senior associate planner for the city of Monterey. And I've been working with the applicant on this project. We are looking at. Can you hear me okay?
No, he's just rattling
Sound
over
like
here.
the mic.
Turn your microphone. Hard to remember.
Hello.
Oh, there you go.
Aha. Okay. So my name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a senior associate planner for the city of Monterey, and I've been working with the applicant on this project. We're looking at a variance at 1203 Harrison Street for a raised patio, which would be located in the rear and side yard. So to start, the staff recommendation is to approve the variance. Here we see the property. It is located at the corner of well, it is located on Harrison Street and at the Paper Street corner of Bowen Street there. So as you can see, Bowen Street does go all the way in this direction here, but is not improved, which is a fact that will be part of the findings that staff has made. But the site is zoned R1. It is a single family lot, and it contains an existing single family dwelling. So project description, the project involves construction of a multi-level uncovered patio and walkway at the rear and side of the existing single-family dwelling. Materials include permeable paver, patio and walkway. It is located at the side lot line, basically 0 lot line, right at the lot line, and then 18 feet from the rear lot line. And then, as I mentioned, it's located adjacent to unbuilt right-of-way Bowen Street here. And so I've rotated the site plan here so you can see the lot. So the Harrison Street frontage would be on the right-hand side and Bowen at the bottom. And the crosshatch shows that patio and walkway location adjacent to the building. Here's an elevation showing the patio. And I'll note, at its highest point from the existing grade below, the finished floor elevation of the patio itself would be about 5 feet above the grade, and then the railing would be 9 feet above the grade. And we have a rendering and then rear elevation to show the massing of the
Nice
structure.
renderings.
And then I also just wanted to show the topography of the area. So you can see at the rear of the building, we have Veterans Drive, which is located at a substantial elevation below the project site. And then so you can see all around this neighborhood, all these lots on the south side of Harrison Street are on slopes. And some of these areas you can see existing patios that have been built. And all, down Harrison Street itself, there's similar condition patios that have been built in the rear where there had been some grading, as it appears, when the buildings were constructed. So in order to approve the variance application, the the Planning Commission has to make 3 findings. The first is that has to do with special conditions or circumstances at the site. Because of these conditions applicable to the property, including size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings, strict application of the requirements of the zoning ordinance deprive the property of privileges enjoyed by other properties in the vicinity and under identical zoning classification. Staff made this finding that the circumstances include topography and adjacency to the undeveloped right-of-way. Other properties in the area do enjoy usable open space, where at this property, there's quite a bit of topography and really not a lot of open space at the rear that can be used. Second finding is that granting the application will not be detrimental or injurious to property or improvements in the vicinity of the development site or to public health, safety, or general welfare. Staff made this finding that the patio would be located more than 50 feet away from the nearest directly adjacent neighbor, separated by that Bowen Street undeveloped right-of-way. And then there are no properties at the rear lot line that would be impacted. So again, I'm referring to this lot here is the nearest to the project site that really could experience any sort of impacts. The third finding is that granting the application is consistent with the purposes of this ordinance will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations on other properties in the vicinity and in the same zoning district. So as I mentioned, nearby properties enjoy usable open space in the rear and side yards. This is a project that the staff found to be fairly reasonable. As I mentioned, there is not a lot of usable open space, and so staff's recommendation is to approve. With that concludes my presentation. The applicant and owner are here as well. Thank you.
Questions of staff?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chris. I actually don't have a question regarding the variance application, but I do have perhaps a question regarding the right of way that's adjacent to the property. And if that right of way is never going to be utilized as a road, and we know that it's not, that's what the report says, then would the city not consider making that a legal parcel and putting it up for sale at market rate?
It's a good question. We haven't talked about that idea. Something we can certainly talk to the Public Works Department about. Though.
Yeah, and vacations or abandonments of city right of way has to go through an approval process. Actually, would come to this body before going to council. But that has not been a decision made by the city at this point. We have gotten confirmation from our Public Works Department that due to the topography on the site, it's not feasible to construct a street there. So it's very possible in the future you may be considering an abandonment or a vacation of that right of way. But this application is just out in front of it.
It just seems rather timely in that we're, you know, in the midst of our housing element and with the RENA allocation and on. Here would be a you know, another opportunity site potentially.
Yeah, and I don't know that it would necessarily, due to the same reasons that it's not feasible to construct a street on this site, may not lend itself to being very feasible or to construct really to develop the site, period. But definitely something to consider. Agree.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Any more questions, Mike?
Chris, we're on. I don't have the objection, but were there alternatives looked at?
We didn't discuss major alternatives, you know, maybe I had maybe briefly mentioned, you know, moving the patio away from the property line, but because there were no right of way improvements planned for the area, it didn't seem like it was really necessary for this project.
Thank you.
Quick question, the property at 1199, will it also be allowed to bring a sidewalk or a walkway right up to the city street line?
I would have to look at the condition of the property. I mean, yeah, an at-grade walkway, usually property owners, the city doesn't require a permit, at least in the planning division for walkways at grade. And in the case of this project, it's really the patio itself that the setbacks, the staff was applying setbacks to, because it is effectively kind of a addition of bulk and mass.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if I owned 1199, I would say, well, I guess I could push mine up to the line too.
Yeah, and as Chris mentioned, typically for a walkway that's at grade, they would not be required. It would not be viewed as a structure that's necessary due to the topography of the site. That walkway becomes a raised patio in portions, and then it goes back to being a walkway at grade, and then it goes back to being a raised patio. And looking at the aerial photo, and I don't know if Chris can show that, it looks like the actual residence of 1199 is built up to that property line already.
Good.
So I think they've already taken full advantage of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bob? Okay, can we hear from the applicant, please?
Commissioner,
Welcome.
members of the commission, thanks for giving me the chance to present our request for a variance. This project probably wouldn't be required to get any kind of planning review if it were a flat site. People normally can put their flat work right up to the property line. My client, Mr. William Ray, would like to have some outdoor space. His lot is a little bit narrow compared with the other ones. It's actually an existing non-conforming lot. It's about it is just narrower than the others, and he's got very little opportunity to have outdoor space, and he would like the opportunity to do that. The stairway that goes up and the walkway that connects to the public way is actually required egress from the bedroom, which is outside. The patio is just outside the bedroom there. So we wanted to keep this patio as low as possible. We would the elevations were set based upon the interior elevation of the bedroom for the upper one. The lower one's set at the same elevation as the storage area. And Mr. Ray would be putting a pellet barbecue on the lower one and would like to be able to roll it into a storage area when it's not in use. In terms of Veterans Way below, the project's heavily screened by trees. You can see a couple of spots of Veterans Way from the patio area. And I'd also like to point out that neighbors on either side, as well as total of 7 neighbors have signed the drawings and their support of the project. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? No. Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Comments?
We'll need to open it up for public
Oh,
comments
okay.
before we get into deliberation.
Public comment, please.
I'll just go ahead and remind the public that our webinar for today's meeting is 161-990-8039. There are 2 attendees online. There are no hands raised.
Should we give them a minute to put their hands up? Okay. It could happen. Okay, comments and a motion.
Looks like a great idea. Good use of the property.
Very
Yeah.
straightforward.
Mr. Silva?
I don't have any exceptions. I agree with staff on the findings for this particular variance application. And based on that, I will make a motion to approve application VA-24-0015.
I'll second that.
Second from Dan. Any other comments before we have a vote? Okay, I have a roll call vote, please.
Sure, Chair Dawson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Yes.
Commissioner Brassfield,
Aye.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
and Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with a vote of 6. The decision is appealable to the City Council within 10 days, and we have applications in our planning office or online.
Thank you so much. On to item number 4. Consider 750 Cannery Row. Use permit UP 22-0199 to allow a new T-Mobile wireless communication facility on an existing commercial building. Applicant Chelsea Lehman, Network Connex on behalf of T-Mobile, owner Cannery Row Hotel Development Venture LP by CRHTV Inc., general owner. We have a staff report on this, please.
Yes, I believe Jerry Hiddleman is going to be joining us online.
One second. My.
He's hiding.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Oh. Good afternoon, Commissioner and Chair and Commissioners, Jerry Hiddleman, contract planner. And as stated, this is a new T-Mobile wireless facility at 750 Cannery Row. Use permit 22-00199. Here's the location of the project. It's on Cannery Row, as you can see, in the that also known as the Clement Monterey Hotel on the rooftop. Some adjacent uses are the aquarium is further to the north, and then we have a restaurant to the south in this location. The ownership, again, is the Cannery Row Hotel Development Venture LP. Applicant is Chelsea Lehman with Network Connex on behalf of T-Mobile. This is in the planned community zone, and it's also designated for commercial within the general plan. Here's the scope of work, which I'll show you in more detail, but they will have 2 fiberglass reinforced plastic or FRP screens with antennas and equipment within the enclosures on 2 ends of the building. There'll be 6 new antennas. This is a new facility. 6 remote radio units, 3 fiber cables, and 2 cabinets inside those FRP screens. Since this is a new wireless facility, there is a 150-day shot clock, and that would end on 4/29, April 29th, 2024, and that's under federal rules when the project should be decided upon, either approved or denied. So here's the overall site plan. You can see this is the outline of the hotel. And then Cannery Row is in this location. And we too have the 2 enclosures with the antennas over here and over in this location. There'll be 4 antennas here and 2 antennas on the south side of the building. There's a close-up of the antenna and equipment support areas. So again, on the north side or left, to the left is our 1, 2, 3, 4 antennas. You can see inside this enclosure are 2 cabinets and other related equipment for the facility. And then on the south side of the building, we'll have just the 2 antennas. And again, an enclosure. Here's the elevations. We have the southeast elevation, or what you would call the front elevation. So as you can see existing, here's the hotel, and the FRP screen will be here. It'll match the material and color of the building, as you'll see in the photo simulations. So we have 1 enclosure here at the edge of the building and another one further back on the south side of the building. This is looking at the north side of the building. So here's the enclosure over here. You really want to see the other enclosure on the other side of the building. So again, northwest elevation, northeast elevation, which is actually the rear elevation. So again, you can see outlined here the new enclosures that'll be on the roof of the building, and they will match the existing materials and colors. This is the southwest elevation, or where you can see the sky bridge going across Cannery Row. And then on this side of the building, you only see this smaller enclosure on the rooftop. You'll get a better view when I show you the photo simulations. So again, here is the hotel, Intercontinental, with the antennas on this side of the building and this side. So view 1 will be looking in this direction, kind of a southeast or southwest direction. View 2 would be looking north, and view 3 would be looking towards I believe, the west. So here's looking east. This is towards the front of the building, there's the existing. And again, the rooftop enclosure over here. This is looking from the northwest. This is the building, Bubba Gump, I believe it's called, restaurant, looking towards the hotel. So this is the area where the new enclosure would go on the top. See, it's matching the existing color and materials of the building. This is a little bit longer view from Wave Street, looking at the top of the hotel over here. And here you can see the enclosure, what it would look like from Wave Street, looking towards the northeast. We did have an RF study. The proposed antennas would be compliant with FCC rules. We had the third-party review. There are no public safety limits exceeded at the ground level or at the adjacent buildings. So First, I'd like to show you again the intercontinental, the two enclosures. And here is at the 45-foot level, and this building is, this facility is a little bit higher than the surrounding uses. We have the occupational limit and the public limit, occupational public limit up in the air. And I'll show you the horizontal views of these in a second. So this is the enclosure on the right side of the building. This would be the Bubba Gump restaurant over here. So again, occupational limit and public limit, and the green shows that this is in compliance with the public limit. It's underneath the 100% requirement, as you can see here. It's about 10% in the report. Again, looking at the building, this is the front elevation of the hotel, and we're looking at the enclosure on top, the public limit, the occupational limit. There is a little triangular roof here, which I inserted on another figure. I wanted to make sure you saw that. And again, this is from our third-party review, so that shows a little bit different view of that with the public limit and the occupational limit over here and that triangular roof. This is the Sky Bridge going across Cannery Row, and this is the public limit over here. And this green, it shows it's compliant, but there will be a little bit of RF emission going across Cannery Road, but it is compliant. So we do have certain conditions to address and make sure everything is totally safe for workers and the public out there. So again, we're requiring limited access to the roof area and appropriate RF learning signage must be displayed. The signage with the wireless facility must have contact information as we require on all these projects. A post-installation RF coverage report is required within 30 days of installation to make sure it shows what is in reality when it's constructed is what you're seeing right now. Now, we did have concern on the adjacent properties with the potential for roof area RF exposure beyond the general limit, just up on the roof. And the limit shall be notified, and this limit shall be notified of the facility and provided to the facility, I should say, and provided a copy of the RF analysis and appropriate warning signage. And then written acknowledgement from the affected property shall be submitted to the city. So going back, this is for this rooftop area over here, in case there are workers on the adjacent roof. Want to make sure that there's signage up here and that the property owner has been properly alerted. So that's the reason for this last RF condition. So with that, staff does recommend that the Planning Commission approve use permit UP 220199 with the recommended findings and condition of approval. I thank you. I'm available for questions. I know the applicant's representatives are here, and perhaps our RF engineer to answer any additional questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Questions of staff?
I have two questions, Jerry, and they both pertain.
Yeah.
Jerry, they both pertain to the condition regarding the notification. If you could go back to that slide.
Yes.
Okay. My first question here is maybe there could be some clarity on the language, because when I read this, it starts off by having the word properties as plural, but then towards the end, it's affected property as singular. And I think that should be either consistently singular or consistently plural.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner. I think we can say adjacent property and have that amended. Because again, it would be just the property to the north that would be affected with this triangular roof in this location. So thank you for pointing that out.
My second question to you, and again, it pertains to this particular condition, and my recollection, and other members of the commission might want to chime in, is that the last time that we had one of these wireless applications before us, this whole topic regarding notification came up. And I seem to recall that there was a somewhat a consensus with the planning commission that when there was an issue regarding safety, that adjacent properties would be notified, not necessarily prior to building permit, but before the public hearing. And I'm questioning, wouldn't it be more effective to have such a notice before the planning commission as opposed to just simply a ministerial act?
Yeah, and I can answer that. All the adjacent properties were notified of the meeting that we're currently at.
Right, but what I understand and appreciate that, but what we had talked about previously was due to the fact that there was additional safety hazards related to this and other applications, that be somewhat clarified in the notice.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that we've established that there are actual additional safety hazards. The both the third party RF analysis and the applicant prepared RF analysis shows that all the adjacent properties are within the FCC allowed limits of RF exposure.
Right, but
This is an abundant-
rooftop areas are questionable.
Right, and that's why we applied this condition, because we simply don't know the use of that space, that architectural element at the top of that building so staff doesn't have confirmation of whether or not there's actually personnel that enters that portion of the building or if it's even accessible. So without that knowledge, we would prefer that we get acknowledgement from that property owner that that's not an issue. And if it is an issue, then the appropriate signage should be applied.
Well, I'd like to get feedback from other commissioners. I think one of the issues here is we don't know whether that adjacent property owner is in the middle of developing a second story or third story. And they could very well.
We do know that.
Hmm?
We do know that. We have that information.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I mean, they would be going through our department for any of those development plans. That property is also in the coastal zone, so it'd be required a coastal development permit. It's a heavily regulated area.
Right, but that you would know once they submit an application. I'm talking about when the design phase is happening, before there's even any discussion with the planning department.
Right, and that still would not allow this commission to deny the application based on those.
No,
On that
it's not-
basis.
and I'm not suggesting that trigger some type of action on the commission. And what I'm saying is that would impact that particular property owner with his development potential. And the earlier he's notified of a particular hazard like this, I think the better it should be for that property owner.
Mr. Mike had a comment.
If you look at the audience now, it's blank. But when these topics come up, they fill this room and out on the patio. This is one of the highest interest topics in the city. We've now changed from generation 4 to generation 5. And the FCC hasn't changed regulations on safety issues. Jerry, you can pipe in here if I'm incorrect, but I think since 1994. That's a long time when you talk about this industry. There's a lot of issues that are coming out now into the public forum for discussion. I think what Pete is trying to talk about here is give the opportunity to the people that are next door to these emission areas to come in and ask questions. Because that is what the public wanted when we had this topic at its highest peak in discussion. Jerry, what is the difference when it went from Gen 4 to this latest generation? What is the difference in the emissions on this equipment?
Yeah, I don't think there's a significant difference, but in reality, this is a new facility, so there's nothing on there right now. So it's a little bit different than some of the projects where they're replacing with the Generation 5 equipment. So this is brand new.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
since they haven't changed the safety precautions on the emissions,
Right.
previous generation, what is the difference? The public, I'm sure they want to know.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think it's a significant change. I put something in the staff report that talks about the RF emissions. Let me see if we can find that. Um, so yeah, for this one we didn't, because it's not changing, but I don't recall that there's a significant difference in the Generation 5 versus Generation 4.
Okay. That answers that question. I appreciate that. But I think what Pete was talking about is when we see these different colored lines, that various degrees of danger involved, let's give notice to the people who may be involved, even in the green one. Because when I look at one of those charts, I think with the octopus looking illustration,
Yeah,
it kind of hit towards the ground.
right there.
If you're standing out there for a long period of time, how does that accumulate, that exposure?
Yeah, that is within the public safety zone, all within the green, and this is 8.5 feet. A little hard to read, but I think it's a significant amount of feet above the ground. I would say like 8 or 9 feet.
Okay. So I guess there's no traction here on this discussion of who do we notify when about these things? What does anybody else?
Well,
Well, And staff will just offer this quick response. So there is a notification letter that the applicant's required to send out within 300 properties within 300 feet at the time of application, alerting adjacent properties that this application is being filed with our department and will be under review. There's a second notification that goes out, same radius, to those properties, alerting them of this meeting and that the project's being considered by the planning commission. And in both those letters, it describes what the project is and that it is a wireless facility with the potential of RF exposure. So this 2 rounds of notification to adjacent properties. There's also on-site postings posted at the property, the project site. So
But they don't have the analysis.
right, it makes it clear in both notifications that if they need more information or wish to look at any additional information, that they can come to our office or contact the planner, myself or Jerry, and get that information.
Personally, I think that's adequate. Thank you.
Let me follow up with another comment regarding this condition. 2 more comments. It's not clear to me who is responsible for notifying the adjacent property owner. Is that the applicant? Is it the city?
Are you referring to the condition?
Yeah.
That would be the applicant.
I think it should say that.
Well, it's their conditions of approval, but we can add that language.
And then going back to my earlier comment regarding stressing the importance of notification to the affected property owner, not only because there is a potential hazard for future development, but also because one of the conditions imposes action by that property owner that they would not know of otherwise unless they read the staff report. A notification, a public notice that gets sent out wouldn't say that. So here's a condition that's actually requiring a third-party property owner, not the applicant, to take some type of action. But they don't even know about it.
The commission is
Yeah.
free to remove the condition if they so choose.
So Levi, does any of the documentation that the surrounding properties received include like a hyperlink to the report? I mean, do they get the same kind of documentation that other, like ARC, will submit, mailings to neighboring properties so they can see what the change to the home might look like? So you have a link to the report in that.
So with the mailed note, it's a mailed notice, so it doesn't include a link to the report, and the noticing goes out prior to the report being available. But it gives the information for the planning office as well as our website of where that report can be found, and obviously the contact information to planning staff to get that information if they so choose.
One of the things that I find very interesting here is that we have listened to many of these proposals for wireless facilities, but I think this is the first one that we've seen that's all brand new and not just a restructuring or an upgrading of an existing facility that already has notified its neighbors by its being there that there is a wireless facility on top of this building, for example, the Portola Hotel. And this is all brand new. And I looked at that, I thought, well, who is this for? And what did they do before? And why do they need it? And then the spillage of the green octopus is all brand new information because there was no wireless facility there before it, as far as I know. Who is it for? Is it just for the Clement Hotel? Is it for people on the street?
It's to increase the coverage area for, in this case, T-Mobile. I believe when we get to the applicant presentation, I do believe they have a slide that shows the coverage maps. So in that'll show the lack of coverage that currently exists in their network in this area, and then the modeled coverage after this facility would be installed. So it covers a larger area than the hotel, though. I've seen the map. So it covers that pretty much that entire side of Cannery Row.
So my comment is basically in support of Peter's comment, which is every other application we've seen, I think for 5 years, has been a upgrade of an existing facility, which by its mere presence has noticed the neighbors that it's there.
I think that's been the bulk of them. I will note that at the previous meeting, it was also a new facility that we're reviewing at the Del Monte Center. I don't believe you were,
Okay.
That's correct.
but you're correct. The vast majority of these applications are upgrades to existing facilities.
Apologize for not being.
No,
I also believe that this generation, the companies are putting their transmission equipment in closer together versus stretched out. I think that's what we're seeing here. Isn't that correct, Jerry?
That can occur, right? To get more capacity for data and other things through your phone and so forth. That's a good point.
I got a couple other questions. On what is the total height of this new screening area?
9
Let me
feet.
go to that figure.
I think it's 9 feet.
So
9 feet more.
Yeah.
Is there a limit on the top, the height of that building?
property zone BAF, which doesn't have strict height requirements.
I know they're not strict, but
Yeah, it doesn't have the prescribed height requirement.
typically for things like elevator towers, they're higher. I understand it. I'm just asking to make sure we're.
Yeah, it's within the standards.
yeah, and if you look at this figure, the top of the stairs, which is in the background, is 54 feet. This facility, the top will be 55 feet, 6 inches. So about, what is that, 1.5 feet above where the stairs are over here in the background.
And in result of the last meeting on this similar issue, how many signs are we putting the warning signs on?
I don't believe there's a limit. The last one, the applicant was willing to put it on all sides of the structure to inform the workers. This would be limited to workers. The public isn't allowed up there to be, safe from the RF emissions.
So are we going to require that it be put on all four sides?
If you so wish, that could be a requirement.
That or the access, roof
Yeah.
access points would probably make more sense.
I want to point out that coming from the emergency side, you don't always have access to a stairway, but you have to go up there. And trust me, I've climbed on the buildings, and a ladder truck is designed for that reason. So if we're not putting a warning on all four sides, we are tentatively exposing people to unknown dangers.
Our valued first responders. Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
roofer.
Yeah.
We're putting these people out there hanging because there's no warning that they're walking into a radiated area. That's why I thought that we had this discussion last time and said, we'll put them on all four sides. Because it's not just planned approach, it's the unplanned emergency approach or work approach, where you just have to do it. Who paints those buildings? Who puts the roofs on? I mean, those are the people that, when a guy is doing an estimate, he sees a building, if he needs to go up there, if there's no sign on that side, then he's walking into a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
Yep, this could be really addressed. We can add a similar condition to the last one that requires warning signage on all four sides of the parapet screens and as well as the access points.
It would also be important that public safety is aware of these already ahead of time. So if there is an emergency, I'm sure that they're doing training and they're involved with just good situational awareness for the buildings that they're potentially going to have to work in.
And I agree with you. I understand that fire pays particular close attention, but it's not just fire. Because I gotta tell you, I was the walking dummy that walked into the danger areas. Because I go up there and no one told me that I'm not supposed to do that in this particular location.
Well, at some point,
Yeah.
it'd be worth getting Jerry or an RF engineer to come in here and provide us a lecture on RF safety and, how close and what the dangers are with regard to the equipment. Because I think that the FCC standards are pretty strict. And so being there for a short time is probably not going to do any damage, but getting some specific information on what that duration is and what the potential hazard is would be valuable for us, so we don't have to second guess some of these issues.
Yeah, guessing is bad.
Yeah.
You're like I said, talking to a guy that's walking in a minefield, so
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
quite
it's
believe
different,
that.
yeah.
And survived.
Yeah, no, it's a very important topic, and we can certainly have a little workshop on that or an item in the future, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, is that all the questions we have? We have a presentation from the applicant.
I believe they're online.
Yeah, I see Becky Todd and also Chelsea Lehman online. And they're able to unmute themselves.
Hi, excuse me. My name is Becky Todd and I'm with Network Connects on behalf of T-Mobile, and I'm here with Chelsea. And I am trying to figure out how to screen share here. So there we go. Okay, I see the button. Sorry. Hang on just a second. Okay. First, can you see my screen? And second, is it showing bringing improved coverage to Cannery Row?
Yes.
And yes,
Okay, good. Hang on just a second. Let me rearrange a few things. I was trying to take notes as everybody was talking, so I want to get my notes in front of me where I can see them. Yes, anyway, so I am Becky Todd. I'm here with Chelsea on behalf of T-Mobile to support this application. And there had been a comment about why do we need the site and who is it for? And this slide is about that. The top one, and I hope let me know if the picture is too small, I can make it bigger. The top one shows the current existing coverage in the area, and green represents the highest quality coverage. That's what they call indoor commercial. Yellow meets the indoor residential standards. Orange is for in-vehicle, and blue is outdoor. And so you can see the coastline is right here. If you can see my mouse, the site in question is circled in red. And when you turn on the site, the coverage in the area, and especially in Cannery Row, which, as you know, is a very popular destination, lots of traffic, many customers in the area, the quality of that coverage improves night and day to being essentially indoor commercial quality coverage, which is what most people expect from their service. And then it does also improve certain areas that are back towards where this other site location is. So it really does hit this waterfront area and would support the T-Mobile users that are in that area, whatever they happen to be doing. The second question I had was who was the beneficiary of the coverage? And this is for T-Mobile customers, the subscribers to T-Mobile. And the site functions, as you can see from the coverage maps, as both a capacity and a coverage site. So it's really, knocking back some of these areas where the coverage is really poor and really very much enhancing the usability of the network for the area where it's intended to cover, which again is primarily the Cannery Row commercial area, and then extending out into the other areas that are here. I think Jerry answered the question about the height of the facility. I would point out that it's very similar to the existing rooftop, I call it the shed up there for the top of the roof, the rooftop access. And there is only the one rooftop access. And then there was a question about our discussion about RF signage. And T-Mobile submitted an RF report that had on, I believe it's page 7, Exhibit E, page 17, it has a roof signage plan. And there is only one point of access to the roof, and it's just this doorway that's the one that's directly behind the two-sector corner of the facility. So that would have a guideline sign as to how to behave around RF and all that. And then at the two sectors, well, let's talk about this one first. The one that is closest to the Bubba Gump that overlooks the kind of patio area. There was a recommendation, and again, when they make the recommendations, this follows what the FCC rules are. There was a recommendation for one sign to be placed here. This particular sector, we could put signs on all four sides of it because it is pedestrian accessible a little bit, very skinny on this side of it. And then the recommendation in the report was for, there's barricades that you put up on the roof that are, you can, if you're doing roof work, you can obviously walk over them, but it is kind of a cordoned off area with RF signage warning of where the limits are exceeded. And so they were going to put one in this area right here that was of concern for the non-general exposure. And then on this side, I know the commission had mentioned putting signs on all four sides of this. These two exterior facing sides, they're flush with the edge of the building. And so it's a drop straight down, and the signs would be very, very visible and would draw more attention to the facade, which is designed in this corner. And this, the materials and all that were selected so that this would be a stealth facility, so that it would blend more with the aesthetics of the hotel. We can put signs on the other two sides that are pedestrian, or sorry, I guess pedestrian access, not pedestrians, but like you can walk up to them. And then there's another call out for putting another similar type cordoned off section so that one is aware of the RF exposure to it. And I did not include a photo sim in any of my slides, but I can go to this one and you can see how the this sector is essentially designed to be constructed right into the corner of the building. And that corner of the building drops off like so. So an RF signage on the front here would be really pretty visible and kind of disruptive to the facade of the building. So as far as the signage goes, I would ask that we can keep the aesthetics preserved on this side, but we can add more signs on the other sides and then add some more signs to this sector that is that does have the ability to be walked around. And I believe, and Jerry, correct me if I am wrong, but I did think that somewhere in the either the RF report or your conditions of approval was something about the property owner being responsible for training and coordinating with T-Mobile if they have any scheduled maintenance done. So like if you have a roofer up there or somebody working on the HVAC, that they're made aware of the conditions and the property owner can work with T-Mobile to maybe turn down some of the sectors if it's a long project. But I can't
That's
remember if that
correct.
was one of your conditions or if it was in one of the RF reports, but I did read that.
That is a condition of approval, so I can
Okay.
verify that.
Yeah.
And but I think the question from the commissioner was about first responders coming up there. So they might get some training, but they probably wouldn't know until they see the signage.
Yeah. So on that, I'm not sure how your building department works, but in a lot of places when there's a new building permit application that goes through, which we haven't filed yet, fire does review it. And we can reach out and notify the fire department when it's constructed so they know it's there. And I had thought that that was sort of part of their general emergency planning, that they were aware of where the rooftop fire, like where the rooftop, sorry, not fire, wireless sites were located. But we can work with you on making sure that there's adequate notification of that.
I have one question for either of you two. Is there a door or a hatch that you have to go through to get to that rooftop?
There is. Are you still looking at my RF signage slide?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's this notice sign. There is a single door hatch, and it is right here in the back. And I can hopefully, I apologize in advance if I make you dizzy by doing this.
Well, I would recommend putting one of each of those signs on that door so that there's no mistakes.
On the front and the back.
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
talking about? Yeah, the hatch, the access is right here. It's just this one spot. Yeah, so the signs are typically on the interior of the door, but we can put them on both sides.
Here's the cursor right here. I didn't see where she pointed.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think she
It
was,
is, can you see the cursor?
Nope.
no.
We're looking.
Okay, is it against the water? Can you see it? So there's a little kind of mechanical looking room right here that houses the stairwell. And it is towards the water side, kind of in the back, on the, I guess you'd call that the north corner of the building.
Okay, just so you know that we're concerned about the signage and the safety of those people going up there. And anything you can do to help us out, let's do it.
Yeah, and I think information is that it has to go to the lowest possible denominator,
Mhm.
because frequently a complaint will come in about a leak, a water leak.
Mhm.
We'll tell the secretary to call a roofer to come out and look at it and give them a bid. She will call the roofer he will go out and where is the leak? It's on this side. And it's the side with no signs.
Mhm.
So then he gets a ladder and goes up there to see if he can figure out where the leak is. That's one of my concerns. And the
Okay,
same-
well, this is a flat roof, so I would imagine that you're not scaling the outs. You're going to be going up through that the stairway access roof to get up there if there's a problem with the roof.
well,
And so if you have the signs on the front and the back, and then the area is cordoned off, the awareness should be there, and hopefully whoever is up there doing a bid walk would be notified and experienced for working on commercial rooftops.
and I'll also suggest the other side of it is you get a fire up there and the fire will come out with a ladder truck and send it there. And there's no sign there.
Yeah.
And that's not using the hatch. That's going through the blind side.
Yeah, and that was what I was talking about earlier with the fire department will be reviewing the building permit, so they'll see and know about the site, and we can do some outreach with them and send them a site plan and let them know where it is. And I think they keep pretty good records on, especially these commercial buildings for ingress and egress.
I think that the issue here is just that warning sign with the phone number of how to shut it off is the important one.
Yeah, that's the knock sign, the network operations sign, and that's one of the standard. It's one of the standard signs that goes with the site. That it's not. So the RF report will show which ones are necessary for the level of emissions and notification. But the knock sign, the site ID sign with the phone number, is always with the ingress egress, and we can put an additional one on the back sides of these the RF enclosures if we feel that that's necessary.
More questions? No. Well, thank you,
Yeah,
Becky.
I just have one
Yeah.
more. This is a new installation for T-Mobile.
It is.
To benefit the T-Mobile customers. Are there other wireless facilities on the roof existing for other, like AT&T or Verizon or Sprint?
No, there are not. This is where we would be the sole provider site, and as far as I know, the only carrier that's in this area.
Okay. So all the more reason to get it right the first.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, is there anyone in the audience outside there that's raising hands for comment?
There are 2 attendees online, however, there are no hands raised.
No hands raised?
Are both attendees applicant representatives?
I'm not sure.
Can we just go ahead and remind the public how we participate?
Sure. Once again, information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is at isearchmonterey.org. Today's PC webinar is 161-990-8039. Thank you. And there aren't hands raised yet.
None? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you need my screen anymore? Is there anything else I can answer?
You can go ahead and stop sharing now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
thanks, Becky. Peter,
I would like to, first of all, support the project, but modify this one condition that I seem to be hung up on with different language. And I propose that the language be modified by taking the word notified, striking that out in the first sentence, and replacing it with the words served with a notice, striking out the final sentence altogether and replacing it with applicant shall submit proof of service to the city. So the action of this whole notification becomes totally as part of the applicant's responsibility. The neighbor doesn't need to do anything.
is that we'll
Need a separate
remember that
motion
when
on
we.
that?
when we
That's
get to it.
a motion
get
to
to
modify that
motion.
that particular condition.
Mike, no?
I just asked if that was a separate motion.
Yeah. No other comments?
No.
So, we're gonna have we still don't have any hands up,
There are no hands raised.
no hands.
Just for clarification, Commissioner Silva, is that a motion to approve with that amended condition or?
It's a motion to approve the project with that modified condition. And I know that Mike has other things to add to this. So I want to open it up for discussion after a second.
Okay. So if
Okay, I'll second.
we have a second, would you like to make any?
I would
changes?
also recommend that just a simple, that notifications shall be listed on all four sides, on all sides of any transmitting structure.
Simple, smart.
Okay, so now that we have a motion and a second, and now that the Commissioner Brassfield has recommended an amendment, I believe that's an amendment to the motion, so.
Modification to be.
So Commissioner Silva would have to accept that amendment and then same with the seconder.
I accept it. Although I would also add that not just the four sides of the parapet screen, but in addition, the access points on the roof. And I think that's already said somewhat vaguely under 1, 2, 3, the fourth bullet point condition, which reads for areas on the roof penthouse near the antennas that are predicted to exceed the general population limits, barriers and RF alerting signs, caution, should be posted to be visible upon approach to provide notification of potential conditions at these areas. So this whole upon approach is vague, as Mike was
I
stated.
agree.
Yeah, you could
So
be
stat-
going out a hatch or up a ladder.
Yeah, staff would caution applying the condition to require signage on all four sides, as the applicant stated. Two of those sides are flush with the vertical facade of the building and would have an architectural impact on the structure. So this will have to go through architectural reviews. So perhaps limiting the signage condition to areas that are accessible by pedestrian at the rooftop.
I would suggest, first of all, these signs are about this size. If you're down at the bottom, they're typically not going to be in your eye view. If they're down at the bottom of whatever that structure is,
The parapet structure will be flush with the wall. So if you place the sign on that side of the parapet structure, it's visible from the street.
And you don't want that.
This will not be behind a secondary parapet. It will be the parapet.
no way, so it would be, if there's a parapet, that typically that would be in front of the sign.
No, the enclosure will serve as
An
the parapet.
enclosure is different than a parapet. And what I'm saying is typically there's a parapet, which is a linear length screening something behind it. I got an architect here that if I'm wrong, but that's the way I was taught about what parapet is.
I think what Levi is saying is that one of the walls is flush with the wall with the
Oh,
facade of
it's
the
flush.
building.
It's not necessarily a parapet.
Well, that's what he's getting at here.
That is what I'm getting at.
So you're just saying you don't think that,
That's what,
It's not
Fine,
accessible from the
there-
roof, that side of the enclosure. I don't know what a sign would be doing other than detracting from the aesthetic value of the building.
Well, I personally don't find anything wrong with that, but because we are talking about a danger.
yeah, we'll take.
that would be.
Yeah, but nobody's going to access the roof from that
From that corner,
facade, that
Yeah.
particular facade.
You never seen a ladder truck work.
I don't think they aim for the highest
There-
point of the
It's
building.
not ever going to happen.
That's about 4 stories. That's easy.
Yeah, with ladder.
Yeah, I think I don't know how the ladder truck crew works, but I think they wouldn't be going for the highest point for the ladder.
No,
I think they would go for a lower point near it, but if you have signage on the two sides of the structure that are facing the roof part, then I think you're covering it with anybody who's going to be walking around it once they get up there. So that should be sufficient to warn any first responders that there's a RF danger for that location.
Huh.
Um,
and I
and then
agree.
also, I think
I agree.
the fire department's gonna probably be part of the permitting process anyhow there. I'm again guessing, but I'm assuming that part of the fire department's training includes, being situationally aware of the structures that have these type of devices. And so they're part of their training, and part of their crewing is going to be
That's good.
knowledgeable.
Just a point that Becky's back on with her hand up.
Yes, and if we would have to read.
I was kind of trying to unraise it. I couldn't figure out how to do that, but
Hearing, we're currently in deliberation. I believe we also have a motion on the table. It has,
Clarify the motion.
it's gotten a little murky, so at this point, just want to make that clear before we re-engage.
Well, I think
As the motion maker, I want to just try to clarify where we're heading with this and that I think it's sufficient to have these signs on the two sides facing the roof. And not the two sides that are facing the public way.
That'll work.
it's okay. He's okay. So all the seconders agree?
Yes,
Was the second, you second?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
so-
and just for staff's clarification for reporting in the minutes, so that's a motion to approve the project with the amended condition as Commissioner Silva read earlier for special condition number 1 in the draft resolution. And with the addition of a condition requiring warning signage on the enclosures on the two sides that face the roof.
Great.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Chair Dawson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Yes.
Commissioner Brassfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
yes.
and Commissioner Silva.
Yes,
Okay, that is approved with a vote of 6, and the decision is appealable within 3 days to the city council, and we have applications in our planning office or online.
Thank you.
So do we have some wise moves from the planning department?
Just a quick update from a follow-up to the February 20th city council meeting as it pertains to planning related items. Wasn't much on that agenda in regards to planning related items, but there was a approval to send a letter to the California Coastal Commission and supporting the reissuance of the coastal development permit for the Cannery Row Plaza project, also known as Ocean View Plaza.
Did that get pulled somehow? The thing that we worked on for years?
The project,
Yeah.
so they received a coastal development permit in addition to other approvals, and a lot of time lapsed, and those permits have shelf lives, so they expire. They were able to extend all their approvals through the city. However, they were unable to get support from California Coastal Commission to extend the coastal development permit. And so that's what they're seeking currently from the California Coastal Commission, and the city council authorized for the city to send a letter in support of the project to the Coastal Commission. So working towards keeping it alive.
Super duper.
Yep. And beyond that, we currently don't have any items tentatively scheduled for the March 12th, but we'll be sure to let you know if that changes. That's all we have.
Any commissioner comments? Steve, Peter?
I have 2 comments. On March 6th at the Middlebury Institute, there will be a lecture by a LA Times environmental journalist named Rosanna Zhao. And the topic of discussion will be the effects of climate change on the California coast and how that
If any.
relates to the Coastal Commission's policy of managed retreat. It sounds like something I'm going to probably attend because I'm interested in that kind of thing. So I wanted to address other members if we want to go. I think there's a online registration if you just Google the Middlebury Institute.
Probably not be gone.
Secondly,
Yeah.
I was reading in the Monterey Weekly a few days ago regarding Monterey One's water recycling project that's supposed to go online at some point in the future. And what caught my eye was a quote from Dave Stolt, who's the director of the Water Management District. And he claimed that as a result of this project, the city of Monterey will have enough water to complete all of its development priorities and goals. So all the housing, all the additions, all the 80, and I had to stop and think, well, that's not what we were told. I thought that this whole water situation that is happening was only going to provide enough for ADUs, maybe 350 ADUs. And so, could you guys clarify that? I was really kind of confused when I read this.
Yeah, so we'll refrain from commenting on that. I mean, that's information provided by the water district. For, you know, a more elaborate discussion on that item, it's probably best to agendize that item.
Right.
No, no. Well, I had a comment about the item number 4 with the cell tower area. There was 200 pages of stuff we didn't need. You know, is that our doing, that we have all of the work from all of the engineers and all of the equations and all of that stuff that I didn't page through, but you know, some of the stuff was very interesting, but I don't think most people would care.
Yeah, well, so most of that was the structural analysis.
Right.
You know, demonstrating the ability for the roof to hold the equipment. And if I recall at the last meeting, there was quite a lengthy conversation and questioning about that building's ability to withstand the weight of that equipment. So yes, I do think that is necessary.
I don't,
Yeah.
personally, I don't think that the way we can get out of it. I mean, the city of Monterey has its own history regarding cell towers, and they want us to pay attention. Yeah, I understand your frustration.
270 pages.
We can maybe reorder the exhibits next time and make that one the last one, and then,
That would be helpful.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, especially if you get it on Friday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I just looked for the octopus diagrams and that's it. That's enough for me.
There you go.
Those diagrams. Okay, is that it? Nobody more? Okay, we're out of here. Adjourned.